Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to let you guys kind of choose who wants to take these questions. And we're going to start with a bit of structure, and then we're going to let your answers kind of dictate where we go from there.
Sounds good.
So question 1, IT support for new product monetization. When the business introduces new products and services, how is IT expected to support those from a usage-based perspective? What requests come to you from the business and from where?
Shall I start? I can go. I mean, because I'm the left side. Hi, everyone. Pleased to meet you all. So part of it for us, it starts with the engagement process of top of the funnel of understanding what the requirements is, what we think that the business wants to be selling and the market it's operating in, and what those initial outcomes are. It's a constant struggle, right, in making sure that we get those clearly defined and what those requirements are. And then how we, based off the timing, how we ingest that through our business product management focus, and then into our development things. Once we have that, then the key things for us is really looking at the systems of how we do that based off of what the SKU and the selling motion will look like for us, and then how we when long term look to rate those and look to rate those. I mean, from our perspective. It's a number of elements such as those, and then reporting off of the side of those. But it's a constant struggle of just trying to understand the initial outcome for, and then how we architect and look to deliver that based off of the changing needs of what our customers are asking for us. Are you seeing any? How are you?
Yeah, for us, it's more of analyzing the usage that our potential customers have and our existing customers, and then rating that. We're using bundles,
yep,
trying to keep them even without overages so we can get that revenue up front. And then the challenge is rating those overages.
Follow-up question. Why are you trying to avoid overages?
For the revenue.
Because customers don't like the overages, they're not comfortable with it.
And it's a challenge for us to rate those overages and have it accurate, and get the data to the customers and support what we've invoiced.
It's not necessarily the overage. I think it's more the predictability on both sides and transparency of understanding when the customer signs up for a service, what should they expect to be paying for that today and tomorrow, both on their side and on our side, because there is the revenue component for us. But then also from a customer for transparency of understanding what value will they derive and how do they then rationalize that, the cost of the value of the service for them internally. And so the utilization component of predictability to scalability is one of the things that we're currently looking at. And then as we're saying here, on as far as how we then rate that then certainly does go down into the product catalog and how that is set up and organized such that you can get the right decomponentization between what is predictable SaaS versus what is the utilization of the usage, and then how that then, and then how we then tax that appropriately and all the other pieces. Anything, Tony?
Ryan, I was thinking about the way you sort of framed the conversation when we were talking backstage, right? It's the somebody in an ivory tower that does product, pricing and stuff, sends these things down to IT, and IT has a magic wand that we can make all of our systems from quoting to rating to billing magically do whatever's been dreamed up, right? And
it's already been sold.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's already been sold. That was the other joke, right? Is that
right.
Sales, writes a SKU in that we've never sold before, and that's just not the case. The challenge is as you move from a traditional model to we're going to usage, right? How do you set up the customer in a way throughout the rating process so that everything comes in correct, right? Okay. And so when you think about all the usage that we're getting now, even in Five9's own products, we get multiple different types of usage records coming in. And then you add partners in, and we're selling their products, and now we've got to rate those, and now we have to deal with whatever records they're sending us. And so there's a lot of challenges in getting all of this set up to correctly bill a customer. And I think what Adam said is right. You can do 1,000 bills correct, but you get one wrong, right? And now you've got to go investigate, why did we bill that customer incorrectly? So there's a lot of challenges in getting all of that ingested into your system and rated correctly and ensuring quality throughout the process. Because when we invoice somebody, it should be a competitive advantage. It should be simple, it should be accurate, and it should be easy for them to go ahead and say, yes, we're going to submit our payment. And that's where I think some of the challenges come with sort of the vision, I think, from sales is we want to sell whatever we want, however we want to sell it, whether it's usage or traditional or anything else. And so how do we do that?
Unscripted question. Have any of you considered putting targeted marketing message on invoices based on the usage of that customer? Because there's an argument to be made that if there's one communication you're going to send your customer that they're going to read, it's probably most likely to be the bill and not an email from the sales development group.
So targeted message about their usage or their potential bundle upsell to.
Well, I think the utopia would be, we've got the systems in place to identify what they're most likely to buy next, and we're going to put it in front of them on the method of communication that they're most likely to consume and read.
Yeah, we're not thinking about that at the moment. We're certainly looking at the in-product, product-led growth component of those areas there of how we can provide those insights with where different personas are interacting with their usage and their on the product, the quantity as well as the cost that they're doing. And we haven't thought, actually, but we may take that one back in that manner there, because that persona is certainly going to be very keen to understand, could they optimize their spend differently? But we're not. We're focusing at the moment on part of the in-product in that element there, and then really presenting what my cost is, and then what some of those other options could possibly do. As we said earlier, it does come down to how we want to monetize what we're selling, and such that it is as transparent as possible, based off of price bundling and such like that. And so the words that VJ was saying just a moment ago were very held true in the fact that that getting the right pricing strategy is interesting, and how you then start to decouple your catalog such that it can be rebundled in a manner that it's more consumable for your end customer. And that's part of the challenges that we're facing, is presenting our decomponentized product in a manner in which the customer wants to consume it. And that goes from, again, the SaaS component as well as their utilization, against a range of all the products that you sell and or you're selling through, and because that customer wants that experience. And so the rating of all of that from an ingestion perspective, as well as then obviously internally for products and others of what is that utilization? Are there other insights that could be given and learned from how much people are spending today and or tomorrow, that over time should shape new product innovation and or different pricing strategies and utilization. So there's a number of elements there of how pricing can be, is a driver, and how we consider go-to-market activity.
Sure. Important part of the Jeff Bezos growth loop that VJ showed earlier.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
pretty cool.
Really should be evaluating that.
For growth.
As the SaaS pricing landscape evolves, Gen AI being a big component of this, what sort of new infrastructure are you guys being asked to deliver from an IT perspective? Whether it be getting data out of the product that typically wasn't available out of the product, or getting the data from partners in Tony's example. I think a lot of the Gen AI platforms that are offerings in the cloud communication space and the contact center space is definitely a hotbed of opportunity in Gen AI. And I think in a lot of cases, it's going to be a multi-partner solution that actually drives these.
Yeah. Choose, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm not sure quite what the question is.
Yeah.
That's why Morgan looked at me.
I took left. I shifted left.
I
used to play Russia, so we can just...
As the SaaS pricing is evolving, and it's continuously changing, and we're going after more personalization, and Gen AI applications are rolling out.
Yeah.
What sort of infrastructure is at the top of the list of need to either build or enhance next in order to enable monetizing that effectively?
Yeah, so the question is essentially, what are we doing to support usage-based AI consumption, right?
Yeah.
And specifically infrastructure that we're rolling out is we are changing the record types that we're using in order to ingest AI from our products, the AI records, and then rate them. We're also creating new transport methods to get them in. But that's almost like plumbing stuff, right? It's kind of less interesting, but important in order to bill. But aside from that, it's how are we pricing AI is really the question.
Yeah.
And so for Five9, there's kind of a couple of things that are going on, right? One is we've elected to make AI available to all of our customers as part of their standard product set. So there's no additional charge, and then we're just charging them for the usage. And so it's on our responsibility to optimize the way we use AI in our products so that we don't overcharge our customers, and we're not creating an environment for them where the value they think they're receiving is less than the cost they're paying. And I think that's the challenge that every SaaS vendor right now is going through. I was just in a tech council meeting a couple weeks ago with 23 other CIOs, and the question was asked, how many of you were early adopters of AI, you bought AI products, and everybody's hand went up. And then they said, well, how many of you are still using those products that you bought last year? Everybody's hand went down except one. Well, why did it go down? Well, it was interesting, but it didn't deliver the value that it said. Or it liked, but the cost was so prohibitive, we couldn't keep the product, right? And so that hype cycle of AI is going to solve lots of things for us a year and a half ago, has grounded itself back out to we're looking for those use cases where the value outweighs the cost, and we can bring that into our business. And not just the productivity tools that we use like GitLab Copilot or something, but more in the back office. Can I close my books 2-3 days faster than I did before? Those are the problems that we're looking for AI to solve in a way that the value is there, right? We know we got to pay for it, but I need to show the ROI on that investment.
For your Gen AI offerings, both the ones that you guys bring to market as well as the ones you guys procure as IT leaders, I'm interested in your thoughts on tokens versus no tokens on the pricing model.
I think for us at eBay, it's fairly similar. It starts with the infrastructure as well as the pricing strategy and how we want our customers to consume the products and services. We've had some conversations internally over how we can use that as a tool as far as how customers if you think about an overarching ELA in that manner as well as signing up from the Amazon model, we're just not there yet. We're not seeing it as a high demand element for us in some of our ICP at this particular time. But what we're starting to think about, though, again, it comes back to us on the data and how we want to product and categorize that such that we can in the future look to have that type of a flexibility in the fact that what we know that pricing strategies are and will be changing. And how do we look to evolve on those? I mean, as Tony was alluding a moment ago, sales will want to sell, right? The customers will be asking and will be demanding different ways of how they interact with us. And so, from the technology teams, we also need to have that element of flexibility. And as long as we can have good, clean data, which is obviously the key tenet for us, then those types of things start to open up as far as how we look to offer those as a service. And then obviously it comes down to infrastructure of your Salesforce, the Logisense, and your ERP and such that you can then make use of those. But from an initial go-to-market at the moment, that's we have a lot of other challenges as far as making sure that we can actually get to that stage. But as it relates to bundling, we're seeing a lot more bundling as far as how people want to consume on those areas there. But so we're not seeing a lot at the moment on tokens per se for us.
Yeah, it's not on our roadmap at the time. Tokenization.
Yeah, I don't think Five9 is, at least I haven't heard any conversations about selling in the token model. I can talk about my opinion of buying in the token model. I'm not a fan, as I shared backstage. I've had that in a few vendors I've looked at, and the challenge I have is one, they don't have a good definition of a token, and so that then leads into, well, how do I really audit my my bill? How do I know what I'm getting? So that's, to me, is problem number one. And problem number two is they want you to buy a token, and then they tell you, but you can have access to all of our products. And one of my charters is certainly innovation, but the other is cost containment. And so if I give somebody the full suite, they will start using the full suite, and my budget for tokens will immediately go away, and I'll be struggling with delivering what I bought it for. So I'm not a fan of the token model. There's also some challenges in the usage model that's similar with how they invoice. So I literally, a couple of weeks ago, I got a contract that somebody else was working on, and as a CIO, I have to sign off on all SaaS contracts, right? And I looked at it, and it literally said, product description, units 1, price 0. Like, okay, you're going to give this to us. Well, no, we're going to charge you $138,000 plus a year, give or take, right? It's usage based. Like, well, how did you go from 0 to 138,000? Well, we're going to charge you based on usage. I'm like, okay, just show me somewhere in my contract where it gives me an idea of what the usage structure is going to be. Well, it's not there. We have this web page that you can go look at. I said, okay, well, is that web page authoritative for my contract? Well, it's a reference. Okay. Well, what's going to keep you from changing that on a whim, and now my price has just gone up 30%? And by the way, if you're in technology, you've been hit in the last year with some huge proposed increases, right? I mean, we got one that was like 70%. It was like, are you guys crazy? I can't afford a 70% increase. No additional services, by the way, just increase in 70%. So people don't know how to price the usage model in some cases. And then it's almost like, well, here's my thing. I said, you're asking me to write you a free check to sign the contract so you can bill me whatever you want so you can hit your revenue targets. I said, I can't sign up for that. We've been going back and forth for 2 months trying to convince them that it's an open contract. Just close it. Give me anything that says, here's an authoritative web page, reference it in my contract, and tell me when the date changes. That's simple for me. Now I can audit that, through your internal audit. Haven't been able to get them to do that. They don't want to do that. And I think that's a problem for CIOs. It's like, why would anybody sign up for this? I certainly can't afford it.
It's a great answer, and I tend to agree. I think I've been in the usage world for a long time, and I think transparency breeds trust. Yeah. And the importance of being transparent about the usage-based pricing model upfront, and communicate changes in advance, and be very clear and accurate on the bill, give access to the actual usage to the customer, builds a lot of trust. And once you've built the trust, the relationship is much better for the long term. Yeah,
we want to drive value. Everyone wants to drive value, right? And make sure that they're getting good value, as we do earlier. On the luxury good example that Vijay was saying as well, right? You buy something, you want to have a good experience, and it is absolutely on the invoice and the billing and the pricing strategy and how you consume that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ryan, I think you hit on the big thing, which is trust. You and I have had this conversation over the years for a long time, right? All CIOs want and need the vendor. They want to trust the vendor to support them. Right, something will always go wrong in IT, and it's the phone call that you can make that says, "I need help," and the answer back can't be, "Okay, we're going to send you a new contract or scope of work, and you're going to sign it." And
change request.
No, I don't. Let's solve it, and I will make it right. But it starts up front with the contract. In my example, it's like, guys, I don't have trust with you on day one. How can I sign this and you ever build trust? Because I'm going to be every month looking to see, did I pay the amount I was supposed to pay, right? So right up front, to your point, it's a break in trust.
And it's going to be a tricky balance for a lot of companies because things are changing so fast. People don't know what the model of their Gen AI offerings are going to be a year from now. So, I think a lot of organizations are favoring the token model for the reason of it allows them to abstract and make changes as their cost structure evolves, as they understand the value metrics better of what outcomes are actually being delivered. Yeah. But the balance that needs to get measured there is, does the sales team understand how to communicate that token model and value to the customer? And does the customer understand and trust that they're not going to get hosed down the road, and they're not getting sort of suckered in, so to speak, into that.
One of the other areas we're going, as we move more towards a usage base with, the SaaS component and the utilization of the usage, that shift from our traditional Intelco model where, the predictability for our revenue teams. And so obviously that then changes a lot of the paradigm for them for forecasting and predictability as far as understanding, again, from the customer, we want them to be whole, to understand what they're getting from a predictability and trust and understand the pricing. But then similarly on our finance and our billing teams as well, making sure that we have those insights such that you don't see at what point is there a significant revenue drop off because you're changing your model of how you price and utilize your services. And so we can't underscore, keeping that team very, very close in the overall end-to-end component of how we sell and how we cash and recognize, as well as, the predictability and the reporting component of forecasting and modeling in that element there. So that's another area that, really can't be we can't forget to talk through that as well. And that's one of the areas for us. Are you seeing similar sorts of?
Yeah, it's the whole journey through quote to cash. Everything has to be supported from sales to be able to bill it and to have the customer confidence that what we're invoicing them is correct and accurate per contract.
Forecasting is going to be a big topic over the next couple of years because as businesses move more towards usage, it's not going to be easy to predict what the forecast should be next year. And, I think there's, Adam mentioned it as the new ARR earlier. I think a couple of speakers this afternoon are going to be talking about it, but there's going to be some art and some science to it. I think part of it's going to be just a changing in expectation of we're not going to be 100% accurate next year, but we're 100% confident it's going to go up by a good measure, but we don't know exactly where it's going to land yet. And I think investors, the industry, the public, the ELTs themselves are going to have to find ways to balance accuracy with optimization.
Yeah, and Adam touched on it very much so. The time to value is a lot shorter in that manner as well, as that customers can start realizing, with less risk for their side and ours. So, if people can get access to products and services at a faster rate, that, from a financial perspective is easier for them to start understanding, and so they can do the selling internally, then over time it should absolutely, that curve should be shortened in that manner there from an LTV perspective. What you got?
What are the biggest challenges your IT teams are facing while implementing flexible usage-based pricing models? And how are you being asked to overcome those by the business?
I think for us, the challenge is just the product catalog is so vast. We need to narrow it down. And then we also have to minimize the special conditions that we're selling and really partner with sales to give them the agility to have products that are marketable and the customers want, but we have to continue it through to be able to invoice it and gain the customer's confidence with a quality product. That's we were discussing it backstage. It's kind of
I love that answer.
Trend.
It's really not an IT problem. It's a business problem. It's a process problem. Once that's figured out, the IT part is, relatively rudimentary to put together if you have the right tools in place.
Tools and vendors and people, right?
Yep.
Process, yeah, exactly. We're going to have a consortium, those that we can all go back to our sales team and just say stop with the special use case SKU.
Yeah.
We'll look to address it one SKU at a time.
Well, it's an interesting point you made, Janelle, about trying to simplify the go-to-market motion. We had a chat last night, Morgan, about the opportunity to be more granular with breaking apart more components of the bundle to allow specifically enterprises to really personalize which pieces of the offering are going to be most important and deliver the most impact for them. And what's interesting is they're very different answers, and they're both right. And there's, we talked to some companies that go through an optimization model at the end of every bill cycle. So they can kind of change their go-to-market motion of, you don't need to pick the exact plan when you sign the contract. Here's the 5 plans, and at the end of each contract period, we're going to automatically drop you into the plan that's most optimal based on your usage that month, right? And it's, again, it's another not wrong answer in the mix.
Yeah, there's a number of ways. It touches on contract overlay, it touches on commit at a tier level, and also pseudo token in that manner, is that regard there. But what we're ultimately looking for is, how can you, based off of your spend, provide a different value of your customer, such they can, you want them to buy more, you want them to use more of your services, you want them to get that value, but and at a cost which, long-term customers should get a different rate if they're using it more. Right. And similarly, that again, what Janelle was saying, we were saying earlier, it comes back down to that catalog. It starts with clean data coming through. If your SKU is going end to end and you have that fully mapped, then you have that flexibility to make some of those adjustments at the overarching level there, as far as what your go-to-market looks like. It absolutely does come back down to your catalog, your end-to-end process, and that data that you're doing. And then once you have that, then absolutely within Salesforce, Logisense, and such, you can start really starting to adapt more to how the business will be evolving. And that, if anything, that's one of the things that it's all taking away, is the fact that it is changing. The customer demand is looking for driving value in the fact, of the last couple of years of inflation that we're seeing, is, making sure that we've all got our CFOs to answer to. Tony's example of not signing that PO, we're absolutely no different. And so we've all got to be creative, but then cognizant of what the customer demand is as well, and price accordingly. And then you can only do that with trust and transparency of what your overall and how you're overall architecting.
Yeah.
Sounded okay, didn't
I think you guys said it well.
it?
Thank you.
Perfect.
We got 10 seconds left, so I think we timed that about perfect. So Morgan, Janelle, Tony, thank you guys so much.
Thanks.